Hi, I'm Maren Hogan, and I run a company called Red Branch Media. Key to our business, of course, is employer branding. Employer branding can set you apart in a crowded market and make candidates want to work for you more than the other guy or gal. Employer branding is selling a job the same way you'd sell a very expensive product or service. The only way to get into this mindset is to realize that working for you is a choice. No one gets that better than a small agency owner in Omaha, Nebraska. We have low unemployment and a highly educated workforce. We're competing against well-known agencies and large tech and finance companies with benefits packages that aren't composed mainly of wine. Why is employer branding so important? 91% of the people you're looking to hire believe employer brand plays a key role in their job decision. 69% of Americans wouldn't take a job with a company they thought had a bad reputation. An EB firm, Brand Mix, found 55% of companies linked an increase of traffic on their career site with a recent employer branding initiative. Today's candidates don't just want a 9-to-5 where they'll clock in, do work on computers for 8 hours, and then clock out. They want to know you're the best place they could be working, and that they're doing work that matters. Employer branding starts on the inside. Companies with high employee engagement had 37% less absenteeism than those with lower engagement. When your employer brand isn't reaching out to your veteran employees or your new hires, you're making them feel like their job doesn't matter. And what's to stop them from leaving once they're somewhere that pays a little better, or they find someplace that's a little closer to home? You don't have to be Google or Amazon to have a good employer brand. Just having an employer branding strategy can pay huge dividends in the number and kinds of people that apply for your jobs. Even the smallest of efforts, when applied consistently, can increase your employment brand. Even within the same company, employer branding can differ depending on who you're selling to. The same way McDonald's doesn't sell Big Macs to the same people it's selling its more calorie-conscious products to, it also doesn't sell team member and corporate jobs the exact same way. The two have different feature sets and shouldn't be sold the same way. Companies are always reevaluating their brands, which is why at least 21 companies like Airbnb and Foursquare made changes to their logos last year. With the right employer brand, your candidates should be lining up to apply like a Southern gal at a Lilly Pulitzer for Target premiere. Your employer brand is your talent attraction strategy, and it should display exactly who you are as an employer to the world. 93% of CEOs are aware of inadequacies in their talent attraction strategy, but more than 60% state they haven't addressed this issue. So what's stopping leaders from taking action on improving their talent attraction efforts? An organized process. Without one, you're a leader with a whole lot of problems and no clear direction to a solution. While you can't develop a strong employer brand in just one day, you can implement the first step, an employer brand audit. With an employer brand audit, you not only become aware of all inadequacies in your talent attraction strategy, you develop an outline of actionable tasks that can be delegated to respective departments. The first thing you should remember about employer branding is, it doesn't just happen. You can't suddenly draw a cute picture of your mascot, post a job ad on Twitter, and expect everyone's opinion of you to change on the fly. Good branding efforts at companies big and small take time and dedicated effort. Take Domino's, for example. They had to revamp their entire brand, marketing strategy, and their actual pizza over the course of 2 years to get people to notice them again. And it took a few more tries at making other products to put them in line with giants like Pizza Hut and Papa John's. The campaign we see them on now started back in 2009 when they were still ranked number 1 when it came to delivery, but they were in last place for actual taste. Since then, they've launched a campaign to change the way people saw their product and their company by adding new things to their menu and rebranding themselves as a better product. A few of the things they did: they added a new line of sandwiches, which helped them compete with Subway and open a new market. They did a taste test between their sandwiches and Subway's until Subway gave them a cease and desist. They added specialty pizzas like Philly cheesesteak and Hawaiian, which gave people a new reason to notice them. And they did lots and lots of market testing for a new pizza recipe, saw it was performing better in taste tests, and decided to replace their old pizza altogether. They backed this replacement with an ad campaign detailing how they were going to redo their pizza, acknowledging their older product was bland and didn't taste quite as good as the new one. This last piece is crucially important because while pizza and employer branding aren't the same, it highlights the kind of thinking you need to do in order to rebrand your company. Looking at their product, their reputation, they realized they weren't going to fool anyone by just adding some sandwiches and pizzas to their menu. If people think your product stinks, they're not going to buy new ones. The new products were successful, but not as successful as they were when they decided to admit to their own faults in front of their audience. The ads told customers how Domino's knew it had screwed up over the last few years, and they also said they knew what people thought of their pizza, that it, sucked. So step 1, setting your employer brand audit up for success. If you haven't met Google Drive yet, introduce yourself right now. Create a folder specifically for your audit to house all of your findings. Then create a spreadsheet or download the one you can find on Red Branch Media's blog, marinated.com, that covers each of these areas. 1. Online presence. 2. Social media presence. 3. Recruitment and hiring processes. 4. Candidate experience and rewards. 5. Recognition and compensation and benefits. 6. Current and exited employees. You may also want to make sections for buyer personas and competitive landscape. Keep in mind you'll be measuring your company against its major competitors for each category. Determine 3 competitors in your market and at least 1 company to serve as an employer branding inspiration. This company doesn't have to be in your industry. They should, however, be looking for the same candidate personas and candidate target markets as you are. Here are some opportunities for almost every employer on their career site. Emphasize the importance of what your company does. If you work in IT, mention how the tools you're building are helping to keep the world running. Candidates want to know that the work they do matters. Talk about your company culture. Candidates want to know what it's really like working for you. And if you can provide them examples of some of the things you do around the office, like office lotteries, lunch days, parties, they'll be able to better see themselves working for you, or not. Appease them with benefits. They may have heard about the long hours, but if you can bring them back in by talking about stock options, work from home, and telecommuting options, or any other benefits of working for your company that you offer, you can calm them down and help them to focus on the first 2 things. Step 2. Conducting the employer brand audit. This should take you around 5 hours. Now that you've outlined the audit, it's time to get to work. Conduct a SWOT analysis for each category and use a separate document for quick reference later on. A SWOT analysis evaluates the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. The strengths and weaknesses cover your company's successes and pain points, while the opportunities and threats provide an outlet to compare to your competitors. This also compares you against the market in which you're currently operating. The absolute most important part of this section is the opportunities and strengths. Identify your weaknesses, but do not dwell on them. Throughout the entire auditing process, make sure to focus on these key points. User experience. Having a mobile-optimized company website and career site is now required by Google if you want to keep your current search result rankings. Not mobile-friendly? Then prepare to lose your top spot. Keep in mind that having a mobile-optimized website that's separate from the website that people see when they go to your website on a desktop is not the same as being mobile-optimized. Why would you want to miss out on the 65% of people using mobile devices to search for jobs? User experience isn't just about being able to view your career page on a mobile device, however. It should also focus on the ease of access candidates have to career information and the workflow they follow to convert into applicants. To do. Get in the mind of the candidate by building out a list of questions they may have. Search your site and that of your competitors to see if you're covering all the bases. Where this matters most? Your company website, your company career site, which is different, your job advertisements and your job descriptions, also different, and within your application process and your FAQs. If you want to change the way people look at your employer brand, you're going to have a heart-to-heart with yourself. A real one. Not one where you put pros and cons on a board and decide whether you're doing well if you have more pros than cons. I mean one where you acknowledge those gut feelings telling you where you know you're lacking and thinking about the rough solutions. If you want to turn your brand around, it's going to require more than offering a new feature. At Red Branch, we use the SWOT method at the beginning of every single EB project, assigning each piece to a different associate. The result is a well-rounded, highly focused audit with fresh eyes. Keep in mind that user experience also encompasses things like, do they find your job site via social channels? Or can they expect a reply within 30 minutes to an application, or does it take 30 days? Recruitment messaging. With 3 generations in today's workforce, you need messaging that resonates with your intended audience. Johnson & Johnson reworked their recruitment messaging to be highly specific and saw their talent pool improve by 54% and new hire turnover drop by 23%. Whether you're targeting college grads, military veterans, or senior executives, make sure your career site, recruitment advertisements, and job ads offer tailored messaging to each segment. Bridget Webb, an employer brand enthusiast and writer at Over Recruiting Daily, said this: "Does your messaging sound like HR or marketing? It shouldn't. It should sound like your employee's voice, their story, why they love working for you. The same goes for those horrible stock images of fake models laughing or thinking deeply around a conference room table. Lose that crap and get real. Better yet, show your employees love and watch them amplify your message. According to Bridget and myself, generic recruitment messaging doesn't yield results, and your competitors may be sweet-talking top candidates right away from you. To do: sign up for a free trial on SEMrush to analyze your competitors' recruitment advertising. Here you can see Google ads your competitors may be running, keywords for which they're ranking, and their website traffic information to compare to your own. Where this matters most: your company career site, your company career social media accounts, recruiting channels, recruitment advertising, job advertisements and descriptions, job boards, and in your social recruiting efforts. Let's talk return on investment. Be on the lookout for ROI red flags to help better direct your spend. Is it college recruiting season? Pull those numbers from last year's career fair and determine which career fairs brought in the most qualified talent. What channels, like digital ads, social media, employee referrals, or job boards, are bringing in the most applicants? 60% of recruiters in 2014 reported their highest quality candidates came from employee referrals. Where do yours come from? How much traffic are your recruitment advertisements bringing to your career page, and are they converting into candidates and then hires? While it's difficult to compare your competitors, you can complete an in-depth overview on what is working and what isn't. To do: don't be afraid to reach out to your social friends for help. Post to your Facebook and ask your friends if they've ever been digitally targeted by one of your competitors. Online music sites like Pandora and Spotify are widely used for recruitment advertising. Sign up for an account and see how other employers are reaching out to candidates, maybe even candidates like you. Where this matters most: recruiting channels, recruitment advertising, career fairs, job advertisements and descriptions, job post distribution, and job boards. Also keep in mind that your employer brand is about more than a good job posting and career site. A lot of your hires are going to come from referrals, and this is another way talking to people around you can help turn around your employer brand. A few facts about referrals. There are about 15 referrals for every new hire, versus 300 applicants per job posting. About 70% of organizations have some sort of employee referral program. You're likely to get about 26% of all your hires through referrals, making it the #1 source of hires. And referral programs, you guessed it, tend to have the best ROI of all recruitment sources. These stats tell us something important. We're often so focused on how we're going to look to the random applicants that we forget how important it is to make employees our best sources of hires. Incentivizing referrals programs, like giving out some cash to both the referrer and the new hire once the new hire is stuck around, say, for 6 months, pays off in the long run. You're going to get a better ROI on these expenditures than just about anywhere else. Step 3. Analyzing results and creating actionable items. Strengths. What works about this company's employer brand? What are the unique aspects of bringing people to work for them? And what are some things that only they can claim? When we look at strengths, we want to make sure we get a good representation of what makes a company tick. SWOT is about fixing problems and highlighting where companies could do better, sure. But it's also about making sure that when we start a new initiative, that it's in line with the company's vision of themselves. What do people currently like about the company? What has worked out well for them in the past? Weaknesses. Where's the company sorely lacking? What past initiatives haven't worked out at all, and what's keeping more people from applying? When we do audits for companies, we have the benefit of being on the outside looking in. But when the company itself is implementing SWOT, this is where it pays to be honest. You have to look at what people say when they turn down offers, ask people what makes them wary about applying in the first place, and see where your biggest holes really are. If you're not honest and come to a good conclusion about your own problems, you're not in the right industry. Common problems when we face things like weaknesses are out of recruitment's control. Sometimes they can be as simple as we're just not paying enough in a competitive marketplace. It could be that a particular manager in a certain department is affecting turnover numbers for the entire company. Whether or not these things are in or out of your control is not relevant right now. You simply need to put them down and worry about how to address them later. Opportunities. What aren't you doing to get people to apply? What are the untapped aspects of your company you should leverage? This is where you begin to look outside as well as inside. If you see another company doing something that's getting them a lot of attention, figure out how you could make a similar strategy work for you. This is also where you look at those parts of your company people like and see if you can't leverage those when coming up with new ideas. Get some ideas on the table about where you'll be going next. Threats. What are other people doing that is costing you employees? What can you do about it? Which of your own initiatives are doing more harm than good? Honestly, what's your budget? Opportunities also exist within the economic space where your industry currently is. You're going to need to take a look at industry trends, and if your company is planning on a new hiring initiative in biotech, and frequently you've always just been in biomed, then you also need to address new market trends that you're going to have to pull into your employer branding initiatives. You have all those wonderful opportunities you thought of leveraging your company's strengths, but how are they going to work out? Who or what is impeding on your turf when it comes to getting those candidates in the door? How much money can you afford to spend this quarter? And what can you feasibly do with that budget? Now, your branding budget, as you probably well know, is going to be very different from your hiring budget. Keep that in mind when you're creating employer branding initiatives so you don't get excited about an idea you can't afford. Again, be honest here. Otherwise, you're not going to get too much out of it. Actionable items will stem from analyzing the opportunities and threat section of your SWOT analysis. At the bottom of each SWOT analysis sheet starts a bulleted list where you can even brainstorm ideas and suggest tasks. Jot down every quirky idea that comes to mind, even if it sounds stupid at first. Because when you look back later, it may propel a more reasonable idea, or one within your budget or timeline, as the case may be. Companies that are doing well, besides Zappos. Take Chipotle, for example. They're gaining ground in the fast food business, both as a fast food chain and as an employer brand. They're a brand that isn't tech-oriented, but is still finding its way into the hearts of millennials. No easy feat. Chipotle launched a mobile app that allows users to apply via smartphone. Plenty of other employers have mobile-optimized career sites, and these appeal to younger, more creative, more tech-savvy candidates. The difference, however, is that Chipotle's application process uses a separate app, making it more distinct in the minds of people applying. Now, what you're probably thinking is that it's very easy to use an app when you're a consumer-focused business with a low threshold to hiring, like Chipotle's. However, you can take the idea of this app and put it into your employer brand. You're probably not going to immediately delete an app you used to apply somewhere, at least not until you've heard back from the company. And while it stays on their phone, it's going to remind them about their application at Chipotle's. They're then more likely to tell their friends about how they applied through the app, and if those friends are looking for work, they may apply as well, all because of a little icon on a phone screen. Your employer brand audit should include, under online presence, company website, company career site, and online reviews, Glassdoor, LinkedIn, Yelp, and any other employer review sites. Under social media presence, your company's social media accounts. These are accounts on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and any other places that you can think of where you sell your company's products or services. And your company career social media accounts. These are accounts wherein you promote your jobs, where you talk about what it's like to work there. And if you don't have these, you need to get a plan together to start them. Under recruitment and hiring processes, recruiting channels, your digital channels, your social channels, and your traditional, and your recruitment advertising, career fairs, job advertisements and descriptions, job post distribution, job boards, and your social recruiting efforts. Under candidate experience, you need to be paying attention to your application process, your applicant screening process, your interviewing process, your selection and notification process, your onboarding process, and your training process. Phew, that's a lot to audit, much less to actually have to do. And under your current and exited employees, your performance management process, your current employees, and your exited employees. Include candidates who dropped out of the hiring process as well.